We have this breaking news about the growing backlash over the Trump administration's statements over the fatal shooting of Alex Preddy in Minneapolis by ICE agents. Newly released affidavits from 2 witnesses, as well as video from the scene, appearing to contradict the administration's claim that officers fired in self-defense after Preddy brandished a handgun. Here's what law enforcement officials said on the Sunday talk shows today.
I think it's deeply concerning, the things that are being said. This is an individual that was a city resident. It appears that he was present, exercising his First Amendment rights to record law enforcement activity.
He was in the scene actively impeding and assaulting law enforcement to the point.
But that's not illegal. He wasn't impeding it. He was filming it, which is a legal thing to do in the United States of America.
Dana, let's don't freeze frame adjudicate this now. He was there for a reason, and that reason was to impede law enforcement.
Joining me now is Maryland Congressman Jamie Raskin. He is a member of the Judiciary Committee. Welcome back, Congressman. We're glad to have you. So the administration called Alex Preddy a domestic terrorist, saying ICE officers acted in self-defense because Preddy wanted to, quote, massacre them. But an officer removed Preddy's gun before 2 other officers opened fire, and videos appear to contradict the administration's account. So how do you respond to the administration's version of events?
Well, America saw some domestic terrorism there, and it was domestic state terrorism. It was the government engaged in the suppression of speech, in the suppression of assembly, in the suppression of the press, in the suppression of the right to petition for a government, for redress of grievances. All of that was happening, and we also saw a violation of the Second Amendment right in Minnesota to have both concealed carry and open carry, which is the law there, and that became the basis for first confiscating his weapon and then shooting him 10 times. So the way I see it is that ICE and the Trump administration are involved in the destruction of the social contract right now. The reason we have a social contract is because presumably we will be safer as citizens within political organized society and government than we would be outside of it. But now the Trump administration is destroying every part of the Bill of Rights. The First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the right for there to be a search warrant based on probable cause issued by a neutral magistrate, a judge, and not issued by an executive branch official reporting to the president. The Fifth Amendment, which protects our life, our liberty, our property against deprivation without due process of law, all the way through the Ninth Amendment, all the rights of the people that are considered fundamental, and the 10th Amendment, the rights of the states fundamentally to govern. I mean, who really does law enforcement in America? Overwhelmingly, it's state and local government that protect us against murder, rape, armed robbery, assault, and so on. That's not what ICE does. That's not what Border Patrol does. So they should get back in their lane, leave the good people of Minneapolis and Minnesota alone. And we need to restore the constitutional balance. And in terms of the moment that we're in, we've got an opportunity because of this massive violation of both First Amendment rights and Second Amendment rights to build a cross-party, cross-ideological political coalition that stands strong for the Constitution of the United States.
Okay. Wow. I was glad to listen to all of that. That said, there's a federal judge who issued an order blocking the Trump administration from destroying or altering evidence related to the shooting. That's after Minneapolis police were blocked from the scene and state officials sued after being denied access to evidence. How can the public be assured that a fair and thorough investigation into this matter will be conducted?
Well, we've got confidence in Keith Ellison, the wonderful Attorney General of Minnesota, Governor Walz, the mayor of Minneapolis. We are going to support them leading the investigation and prosecuting any murder or violent assaults that take place there. It's absolutely false what the vice president has been saying and other people in the Trump administration, that there's absolute immunity that somehow attaches to these ICE agents who were brought in with a $50,000 bonus and a mask and the right to operate anonymously. That is false. They have limited immunity, and it's limited to when they act within federal law and reasonably and appropriately in the context. And if they step outside of federal law and they act improperly, they can be prosecuted. So that word needs to go out. And I would also just like to say, as the ranking member on the House Judiciary Committee, when it comes to whistleblowers on all of this stuff, we are all ears. We sent a letter recently demanding from the Department of Justice, demanding from Homeland Security information about all of the January 6th insurrectionists who have gone into ICE, who've gone into the Department of Justice. They've not turned it over yet, but we're certainly starting to hear from whistleblowers, and we encourage whistleblowers to come forward and tell the truth. If you read Alexei Navalny's book called Patriot, in his fight against tyranny and authoritarianism in Russia, he said the one thing that every democracy-loving citizen can do every day is to come forward and tell the truth. And that is the one thing that will lead to the crumbling and the erosion of authoritarianism.
But how much can the public rely on courts to put a stop to what this administration is undertaking, not just in Minneapolis, but other cities and with other matters? Because it takes time to sort through matters. Is there any more direct approach? Can Congress do anything on that front?
Well, we should be legislating a comprehensive civil rights bill that will protect every citizen's right to use their cell phone cameras to document what is taking place with government agents in the street. Now, that's implied by the First Amendment, but we should still spell that out. We should spell out that people, when they are lawfully carrying a firearm, may not be apprehended and have their guns confiscated and then be subject to deadly assault by the government. So we should be legislating to reinforce the Bill of Rights at this point. The courts are standing up overwhelmingly at the district court level and the appeals court level. It is true we have a serious problem when it gets up to the stacked and packed and gerrymandered Roberts Court, all of which is to say that we're not going to have, one magic solution to the problem that ails us. It's not going to be the courts or the House or the Senate or the people in the movements. It's going to be all of it together. Everybody needs to be working in unison to defend constitutional democracy and freedom in the country against this authoritarian clampdown and the unleashing of state terror against our people in the communities of America.
My last question, will it be worth it if Senate Democrats vote down the funding of ICE and therefore create a partial government shutdown as soon as the end of this week?
Yes. The House Democrats, we overwhelmingly voted for that. Last week, the Senate Democrats should absolutely follow us because we need to make a powerful nationwide statement that the current situation is intolerable when the government is trampling the basic constitutional and civil rights of the people and murdering our citizens. So that absolutely needs to be done. But I think the people of Minnesota have shown us further with their mass demonstrations and their general strike, the direction that we may need to go in nationally in order to send the message that American society does not accept this authoritarian derailment of the U.S. Constitution.
Congressman Jamie Raskin, thank you, sir, for your time with us, as well as everything you're doing on behalf of this country. Thank you, sir.